And you know this, both your husband and I ran as Tea Party candidates.
Yeah.
We were $14 trillion in debt back then. Now we're $37 trillion in debt. And Rachel, I just can't accept this is the new normal.
Even one of President Trump's top MAGA allies is turning against him on the big, beautiful bill. Let's discuss. I'm Dave Aronberg, former state attorney for Palm Beach County, a.k.a. the Florida LawMan, here on Legal AF. Thank you for all your support. Thank you for getting us to 700,000 subscribers. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Let us continue making these videos for all of you, and let's talk about Ron Johnson, the U.S. Senator from Wisconsin, a swing state, and he is no swing senator. He is far right. He is MAGA all the way, but he is pushing back on the enormous deficits, the enormous addition to the national debt that the big, beautiful bill will contribute to. Because after all, if you're a fiscal conservative, you're supposed to be a fiscal conservative no matter who the president is. It's amazing how the Tea Party stopped existing once a Republican became president. Boy, when the next Democratic president gets in there, that Tea Party's gonna be so angry at these huge deficits, right? It's just amazing how the hypocrisy, because people who fashion themselves as budget hawks, all of a sudden when they get in control of the credit card, they can't stop using it and they max it out and then some. When you find yourself in a hole, especially a budget hole, stop digging. These guys, when they find themselves in a hole, they just buy a bigger shovel. So it is a bit refreshing to see someone who I've had many disagreements with, Senator Ron Johnson, find a spine when it comes to the big, beautiful bill. So far, he's not budging. Trump needs his support. And he went on Fox News, as you just saw, to openly criticize the big, beautiful bill. Now, they're very cautious about criticizing Trump. They don't like to mention his name. They don't want an angry tweet back from him. So they usually beat around the bush. He actually goes farther than most. Johnson was actually a little stronger than most in that interview, but still, he's got to bring it back to Nancy Pelosi. He's got to try to show the Republicans that the Democrats are worse and we're well-meaning, but we just have to get on board to get... No. These guys are going to cripple us with debt for future generations. I mean, already we're crippled with debt. They're just adding to it because you got to afford those big tax cuts for the wealthy. So when it comes to Ron Johnson's lack of support for the big, beautiful bill, according to Mediaite, he was left unconvinced on the bill even after a meeting with the president himself. Quote, according to Rachel Campos Duffy, he's one of the hosts of Fox and Friends, she said, "I rarely disagree with you on anything, Senator Johnson. You and I are compadres on so many things, all the way back to the vaccine stuff. So tell me, what is holding you up on this?" That was the initial question. And that's when Senator Johnson came back with what you saw at the opening of this video. Johnson and a handful of other Republicans, including Senator Rand Paul, have been holdouts on Trump's budget, arguing against raising the debt ceiling and more. On Saturday, Johnson said he wants to see spending deficit levels move back to pre-pandemic levels, but the current bill will likely only continue adding to the country's debt, which already sits at more than $30 trillion. $30 trillion. I can't even get my head around that. Quote, I just can't accept this is the new normal. So President Trump, his goal in the Senate was to make the big, beautiful bill even better. I'd like it much better. Right now, I'm not going to vote for a motion to proceed today. And he goes on to say, we just got the bill. I just got my first copy about 1:23 in the morning this morning, about 300 provisions by my account. We have scores, just temporary scores, preliminary scores on less than half of that. We don't even have the scores, Johnson explained. Remember how Republicans used to bash Speaker Pelosi for not giving the members the bill so they can read it like they would read it, like they would read hundreds of pages, but that was their excuse. It's just unfair to give it to us at the last minute. You mean like your leadership just did, right, Senator Johnson? Like they just did. They don't want you to read it because you're going to be buried in debt. And like if you don't care about future generations, that's how you vote for. You pay off your big contributors through these very generous tax cuts, the people who least need them. But that's politics, I guess. You just think about the here and now, the next election, not the next generation. Meanwhile, according to Mediaite, the president says he wants the bill passed by July 4th. Charlie Hurt asked Johnson about his meeting with Trump and the realistic option going forward, considering the deadline in place. Kevin Corke, meanwhile, emphasized the deadline too. noting the budget bill contains an extension of 2017 tax cuts, something critic Rand Paul has said he'd like to see separated into its own bill. Quote, it's concentrating our efforts. That's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. And so we're going to work hard. I'm going to, we're here in D.C. We'll stay in D.C. until we, get the result on this thing one way or the other. So again, we're all dedicated to it. We all share the same goal, the senator said. Okay. So he's still MAGA. He's still in line with doing whatever the party leadership says, but he is at least acknowledging that it is hypocritical to keep piling on debt after debt when you run as fiscal conservatives. And another part of the bill that's a problem is its ban on Medicaid funding for entities that provide abortions, including Planned Parenthood. So when you're talking about that provision, that would seemingly draw the objections of Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins. So if you have those two who are opposed to it, and you have Johnson and you have Rand Paul opposed to the bill, well, that puts the bill in some jeopardy. Collins, according to NBC News, told reporters she would vote yes to begin debate, but that she still had problems with the bill. She said she'd file several amendments to the measure and is leaning against it on final passage unless it is further revised. When you call yourself pro-choice, you can't vote for a bill that bans Medicaid funding to entities like Planned Parenthood that fund abortions for those who cannot afford it. Either you're pro-choice or you're not. Either you believe that everyone has the access to reproductive health care or you don't. Susan Collins has gotten away with a lot of equivocating, a lot of gray area, a lot of being concerned for years now. Man, she stays reelected in a blue state. Well, she got away with supporting Brett Kavanaugh, being one of the crucial votes for his nomination, and she has remained elected there in Maine. Will this make a difference? I don't know. Leaving the Capitol on Friday night, Thune, that's the Senate Majority Leader, Senator Thune, said he's not certain that Republicans have the votes to advance the measure, but that it's time to act. Quote, it's a process and hopefully the votes will be there, Thune said, but we won't know for sure until we actually have the vote. There's an old adage. Democrats fall in love, Republicans fall in line. So do I expect that the Senate will stop this monstrosity from passing? No one's lost money on betting against the Senate Republicans. So we'll see what happens. I'm just hoping they can at least make some amendments to the bill to make it less of a monstrosity, even though I don't expect anything positive to come out of there. So let me conclude here by just emphasizing what 30 trillion is and means, because it's hard to get your head around it. I couldn't get my head around it, so I Google it. And here's 30 trillion. It's such a large number, it is hard to grasp. But according to AI, if you had a stack of $100 bills, it would take 680,000 miles of those bills to equal $30 trillion. That's more than twice the distance to the moon. That's more than twice the distance to the moon. Here's another way to think about it. If you spent $30,000 every day, just think about that. You're spending $30,000 every day since the dawn of humanity. Okay, since the dawn of humanity, you still wouldn't have spent $30 trillion today. But, hey, Donald Trump says he loves the poorly educated. Let's just hope there are enough educated people in the Senate to block this bill, or at least to dramatically change it for our children and then their children's sake. We'll keep following it here on Legal AF, where we meet at the intersection of law and politics, and occasionally true crime, but mostly law and politics. Thank you for watching. I'm Dave Aronberg, aka the Florida LawMan. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, share with a friend, leave a comment below. Thank you for hitting that subscribe button, getting us to 700,000 subscribers. We appreciate your support, and I'll see you next time.
Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.